What would your number one recommendation be to any agent jumping into this world to be successful right out of the gate?
My number one always is that I am not a kid that was, the smartest. I had no money going into it, but hard work and just going for it has led to all my success. So I think you can't get into this space unless you're a grinder.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
You just released for the independent channel. Can you go through the whole process of how an independent agent would use Obi?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just launched with our portal. So we have a portal that you would access just like, accessing Travelers or State Auto or any of your other carriers. You'll get a login, you go in and, from there you go through about the same, let's call it a user experience that you would if you went through and got a quote off our website. And it's a pretty seamless, nice little process. So you go in, you got your dashboard with all your, former quotes or policies that you've, quoted or bound. You can do a new quote right off the dashboard. And it's a very, what I would say, very smooth, easy way to quote. There's not a lot to a 1-to-4 rental, right? As far as it's not a million questions. It's not like you're working like a whole package business, owner's opportunity on some complex business. It's pretty simple and you can get a quote pretty quick. But yeah, you full access. It's not like a wholesale relationship. It's not where we're providing the quotes. You literally are a producer or broker for us, no different than getting a Travelers contract. And a lot of the things that you can do with Travelers or any other carrier, you can do with us. We pay good commissions. I think that are a little higher than the industry norm. I believe they're right around 15%, as I believe my guy in agency development will kill me if I got that wrong, but I believe that's where we're at. So pretty competitive from a commission standpoint. Good coverages, everything built in. They'll meet lender requirements, have the correct GLs. I would say competitive rates. I'm sure we're not always the highest, not always the lowest, but competitive. And yeah, I think just overall, it's just a fast, easy process that if you're in this space and you got a lot of investors, that's what you're going to really like because it's very quick and easy to, provide your investor with a quote when they're looking to purchase an asset.
And it's just rental properties, 1-to-4 doors?
Yep. Just rental 1-to-4 units. Pretty simple. We might expand that, as we go. But right now, I think if we expand it, it'll probably expand in unit count. So, going to 8 units, 20 units, everything like that. But majority of the business, crazy enough, in the rental space is in the 1-to-4 unit. Statistically, that has a pretty good majority of all rentals in the United States are in that in that 1-to-4 unit space. So, I think that'll keep us quite busy for a little while.
You created your niche and you went after it.
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool product. So yes, we're looking for, brokers or producers that are, actively writing, that would consider themselves either broker for real estate investors. Those are the people that we're bringing on first, because we started with our test pilot. Now we're, bringing on consistent flow of agencies. We're wanting to make sure that, we're a good value. So we're wanting people that are, actively writing the policies. Eventually we'll probably, offer it out to, even the individuals who are doing just a couple a year. But right now on the onset, we're really wanting to bring on people that were just like me, who are really looking for this product in the market.
Cool.
What would you say are some tips for people that own units, like 1-to-4 unit properties? What dangers do you see? How do you avoid them?
Would it be Airbnb properties too?
Yeah, so we can do Airbnb, we can do the short-term rentals. We have a product we can do even when it's vacant, and some minor builder's risk if you're doing like remodel, where we call it more cosmetic. If you're doing full construction, then you need a builder's risk type policy, of course. But if you're doing cosmetic, redoing the kitchens, could be vacant for a while. We can handle that. We had to have something for the Airbnb short term because that's just such a popular thing nowadays in the market. So if you're not doing that, it's like kind of not like having Uber or rideshare coverage, on the auto side. So you just kind of have to have it, in my opinion, to have that flexibility. Especially the rental side is always something going on. It's not as clean and cut as the home side. Home, it's primary residence. You got someone living in it all the time. Rentals, people are always maybe have a rent in there, maybe short term, maybe they're remodeling, maybe it's vacant, maybe they're fix and flip. There's just a lot more action going on in the rental space. So, we'll make sure we cover for that. Really, some pitfalls are realistically maybe not covering things correctly. For us, we run a full replacement cost using data. So we're usually pretty accurate on getting a good, accurate replacement cost figure for you. I think deductibles sometimes get investors in trouble. They're not looking at their their deductible as like a business decision, and that's really what it is. Do you want to and can you afford in your P&L as an investor $1,000 or $5,000 or $2,500 deductible? Meaning that do you want to save the year-to-year cost of the insurance and go with that higher deductible? But if a claim does happen, would $5,000 wipe you out? Do you even have that in a cash reserve on a single family rental? Maybe you don't. So those are things that we like to have conversations on, and they're really business decisions using insurance as the product that we think is pretty valuable to have conversations on. But those are the two, biggest things, because as an investor, you're looking at your opportunity different than a homeowner thinks about. Like, if someone happened in my home, like, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, they're out of place. Like, so they're caring about like ALE and, how do I get this is displacing my children and all that stuff. When you're on the rental side, you're caring about like, all right, this just lost me income. This just, how do I not, go in debt because of this? Cash flow. I mean, you're just looking at things completely different. So I think generally what we like about just our company and being in the space is that we built our product around that same thought process, because myself and our two other founders all come from the real estate space as well. So we get what these owners are going through. And then we built an insurance product really for us that translates well to everybody else.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a scenario. You have two units next to each other, separate.
Okay.
Different people. This one has about 12 feet of snow on it, and the gas meter is buried under the snow. The gas meter breaks, causing a leak, forcing the neighbor, short-term renters, to then have to evacuate.
Okay.
So none of that's covered by anybody's policy, huh?
To be frank, I think a lot of people would try to like sidestep this question or answer it. Like, I am on the broker side. Like, this is something that I would consult Laura in our MGA or claims department or someone. Like, I am far from like claim scenario expert, to be able to answer that on there, whether or not even, that scenario. Because, even from a standpoint of when people used to get car accidents in my agency, like, we would always, make sure that a claim rep who's handling that day to day is looking at that. But I'm sure there's a lot of scenarios on these unique loopholes that, happen, not just on the rental side, but homeowners, auto, whatever. Like, there's always, I feel like, these scenarios. I remember in my State Farm, there's always these things where you're like, like we had one time where we had like an Iceland, Greenland scenario. One was called like Village and the other one was called like Eagle, but Eagle had Villa's addresses and then Villas had Eagle's addresses. Yeah, they had them flip, but it got so confusing that the lender just assumed that it was Eagle and Eagle, Villas and Villas, right? And when we got it sent to us, we did the same, because like, why would you not? Why would you think that it would it would do that? And so, of course, there was a claim on one of them. And the first thing that this carrier, who I didn't agree with, was like, oh, well, like, we're not actually covering this because like we're, over here. So
because of a clerical error, right? Like,
yeah, They ended up taking care of it or whatever. Good. But what I mean? There's always those scenarios where I think that you hope that, and I'd hope this for our TPA and, and our MGA and Laura that runs, us as a carrier and a claims department, that you do what makes sense, even if it doesn't technically fully black and white, maybe state that in the policy. I think there's a lot, and I've seen this with carriers. I saw it on State Farm for sure. I will give them credit for it, is if it doesn't actually say it or it's just a thing, but like there is still a cause, I do think that we can still say that claims adjusters and some other people do have a heart, as much as we get such a bad rap for not paying. I think we pay more for things that we shouldn't than not pay for things that we, should, what I mean?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the perception is that the company is doing whatever it can to not pay. Right. Yep. And I certainly agree that that may be the case with some of the 800 numbers, only because they're so unprofitable, right? They're running in the negative, so they have to.
Yep.
But they put themselves in that situation. Now we're charging more. Most of the carriers, right, are charging more, and as a result, you get a higher. This gives that opportunity. And I know that when I was the agent day to day, the guy that answered the phone and helped everybody and did claims, like I talked them into yeses when it started as a no, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is a big value of the agent.
Absolutely.
That
I couldn't agree more. I think
but of course,
that there's always a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, any claim, if it's closed, there's a conversation to be had. And, this goes to our question from, 30 minutes ago of like, why do we not think brokers and agents are going away? Is, AI and different technology can't replace that right there. They can really only do black and white. And you see it in trading from stocks is that, when they use the bots, they just can trade off of the headlines, but they don't really actually maybe understand the headlines. So that they just see like, auto sales down. They just start selling off anything that's related to an auto company. And they don't realize, that, it's a good thing, right? Like, and they just take it at a verbatim. So I think that's a prime example to your point of like why agents are still important, brokers are still important, humans are still important. That like we are still far from taking that heart out of the tin man. You know what I mean? Like we still need that to happen.
I look at that and I look at InsurTech and I look at it all like, man, I know if I was going to war, I'd want an Uzi rather than, a little butter knife. Like it's all tools, right? Somebody's got to man the tools.
Yep.
I mean, there are such amazing tools now, and to prevent people from having those tools in their hands is
bananas.
Luckily, we have really good tools.
It's still, they do a good job, but yeah, I'm with you. It's like, you do hope that selfishly, you want to continue with them. You want to like keep going, right? Like, I think that's the point, right? Like, not to out your company or anyone's, of like, it's just like, my dad used to call State Farm the biscuit train with gravy wheels or whatever, or the gravy train with biscuit wheels, one of the two or whatever. Like you want the good opportunity to keep going. So like, it's like, bring on the technology, bring on the changes. Let me keep growing with you, like let us, keep going. You're not allowed to, right? At probably said company, bring in your own technology and do anything probably too much that they don't allow on your computer or want you to have. So It's like help me help you, like, bring me the technology so I can bring you more clients, like it's simple math.
Yeah.
So crazy. Well, cool. The captive space, the indie space, the InsurTech space. What are some misconceptions each party might have of each other?
Yeah, I think that's, it's a good question. I think on the captive or independent side, what I hear the most that, gets my skin going a little bit because it's like so against how I am is they always feel like, someone's going to take my book, right? If I work with Obi, they're going to eventually steal my clients, right? Like that is the big thing that I hear from the IA channel as far as InsurTech. They just think that eventually, because they're direct to consumer as well, that they're eventually going to take their clients, even though like 90% of even the non-InsurTechs have a DTC arm as well, or some facet of it, right? Like you can go to their site and get a quote, and even like some of the captives, like people can go to the site, get a quote, and get sent to another agent of that same company, and you can lose out too, right? Like because all of a sudden they find out that there's a State Farm agent closer to them, and the next thing you know, you're getting the BOR internally. So it happens across the board, right? So I don't like when people fear that, and ultimately, if InsurTechs are getting into the IA space, it's because they value the space. They see that it's profitable. They see that they don't want to be direct to consumer. They want to be B2B to C, right? Like they want to work with that independent. Like, frankly, for me, like I think about it very simple. And that's how I explain too. Like, why would I want to have to talk to the client, service the client, answer the client, yelling at me, happy with me, all this stuff, do all that stuff? If I can just provide you the policy and you can do all that, I only pay out an expense if you write a policy. I don't want to break that model. I like that model, speaking as like the carrier or the InsurTech. Like it's a great business model, right? And then the misconception I think on our side is, I see too many people thinking that the independent agent isn't like tech savvy or isn't up with the times, and I don't think that is at all true. I think that we have a lot of intelligence in the IA channels and the captive channels. I think what I would challenge the space to do is to push more and not be just okay with the status quo. Like, I would love to see more of the independent and captives, pushing their internal captive to do more and bring in more technically. If I'm an independent agent, really not looking to do the same thing that's worked for 40 years. And my biggest thing for the space in general is don't chase the silver bullet, create it, right? Like, I see way too many on the independent or the captive side that are, on the social media channels, and they're just trying to follow, 5 or 6 people and try to do what they do. It's like, try to do that. Like, go out and, do things to challenge and be the person that someone wants to, copy your silver bullet, or who's calling you because, you're doing something. Because if you're calling someone to, like, I'm not saying don't have mentors or whatever. I'm just saying, like, if you're constantly paying for the next shiny object or next piece of technology out there, and you just think that that's actually going to make you a better agent, broker, owner, that's just really not true. Use technology to enhance what you're already doing, right? Like, be passionate, drive to do stuff, and realize what you need to help you even get to the next level. Say something about myself, but like, I took the opportunity to go build that insurance company for Century 21. I needed technology to make that process faster, right? So that's like an example of, what I'm getting at is go find that opportunity, and then go find tech and carriers who use tech, or your own company, get them to bring you tech so that you can, handle those opportunities and ultimately make some sales and bring on good clients.
That's awesome. How about, what would your number one recommendation be to any agent jumping into this world to be successful right out of the gate?
My number one always is that I am not a kid that was, the smartest. I had no money going into it, but hard work and just going for it has led to all my success. So I think you can't get into this space unless you're a grinder or want to be a grinder, especially in the early years. So that's always my advice is, if you think, in your head, like, this is what you're going to do and this is how hard you're going to work, freaking triple that effort. Because to me, that's what it really takes. It's not an easy industry. A lot of people that you'll talk to are 5-10 years in, and they forget about those first couple years. Like, I would think majority of the people hearing me speak today have had the ramen, not see their kids. Like, they've had those moments, including myself, credit card bills, stress. Like, it's a great industry once you get in with the renewals, but because it's such a low commission rates and different like that to get going, and you have to build it up, that you really have to be resilient. You have to be dedicated to your craft, and, you'll be very helpful. The faster you can start working, it's a cliche, but working, on your business and not in, that's a huge thing for people. A lot of people still are answering the phones at their own agency, and, you eventually got to get out of that mold and move on. And the faster you get good processes in, and, my last bit of advice is really concentrate on your lead source, because it's really easy in this industry to just throw money at opportunities, whether that's internet leads or mailers or cold, it's just so easy to do that stuff. If I'm going scratch, especially if I'm going scratch and I do have some funds, let's just say I got into this and I did have some money in the bank, I'd spend my whole first year just getting as many people as I can to like me, because in insurance, we are in the I like you game, right? Because everyone has insurance and they just got to like you better than the person that they currently have their insurance with, right? Now, maybe you entice them a little bit with a lower cost, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be going out trying to get people to write insurance with you or call you for a quote. If you're saying stuff like that, like, you're not actually doing anything. People will know you're in insurance if you're doing a good job of working hard and sharing, like, just what you're doing, and then show them that you're a good human, show them who you are, show them that you're a good entrepreneur, show them you're a good friend. And when every 6 months or every year, or when they have a problem, one of those 9 triggers for insurance happens, you just want them to, this was my pitch at State Farm. I just want one of those happen for you to think Matt Sutika, State Farm. And that's kind of the philosophy you want as a broker, is just get them to think about you when they're ready to go, and that will create everything for you. And then this job gets real fun and easy, right? Like, then it gets dangerous. That's when you can really scale. So I know that's more than, probably one little thing, but
that's great.
Matt, thank you so much. Thanks for going the distance with us.
Did it.
A lot of great stuff. It's really cool to see agents that, have been in so many different worlds. I think you're the first agent with InsurTech that's been on the indie side and captive. So it's a really cool perspective, I think, coming from you because you've seen it all.
I appreciate that. And, I think that is, I'm very lucky to have the opportunity. It's cool. I love the insurance space. I've always been insurance nerd. I've always, when Justin Timberlake was bringing sexy back, like that was like what I wanted to do for insurance, and
yeah.
So I love that I've gotten to be involved in it. And I hope I'm involved in like 30 more things over the course, because it is such a great industry that a lot of people just don't realize. It's recession proof. It's in the makeup, alcohol, death, taxes category. Like, gotta have it. Someone's forcing you to do it, things like that. And,
pandemic proof.
And if you're in it, you love it. And I'm just glad that we're bringing a lot of talent in, a lot of, technology and a lot of like good people into it. And people are realizing the same thing that three of us have realized, that this space is very sexy. It is very, phenomenal space to be in.
If you're in it and you don't love it, then it's important to take a look at why, what's happening there. What is making it not fun? Because I know that there were years where it was not fun and I didn't even want to be at the office. And I had to take a real close look and figure out, what am I doing that I hate? And it was all of it, but I was working in it, right? Like not on it. And it's a big shift. I mean, even in our coaching group that we have, one of the members, she said, I can't let go of anything. I have to, we like beat her with you got to let go. And you know what? You're taking Friday off for forever. You're not working Fridays anymore. And she actually came back the next week, last Wednesday, and she said, I didn't work the last 2 Fridays, and it was awesome, right? She's like, we actually wrote more.
Nothing broke.
I'm like, exactly. It's better when we're not there.
Yep.
Messing everything up.
If your team doesn't look at you like, why are you here when you walk in the door? It's not a good thing.
Yeah. I come into the studio, I shut the door, and I leave to go to the bathroom. I'm not out there with them too much, and it works better.
That is awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on here. Really cool. And
can people get a demo website? Do you have a URL on the World Wide Interwebs?
We do. It'd be really bad to be a tech company and not probably have a website. But if you see Obi behind me, if you add insurance to that.com, you can get to us. There is a way right on the website where you can get in and get connected with our agency development team, which is our IA team.
Okay.
I'm the only Matt Sutika out on social media. So if you don't like to go, on the line, right, and go that way, you can go to any of the social media and probably shoot me a private message and I can get you connected as well.
Isn't it fun being the only one? Like Craig Pretzinger, there's only one. There's only one. That's a good one. I used to always say Tigger because I'm my wife and I are big Disney fans, of course. And he'd always say that line, but it is nice. Growing up, it was challenging because no one knew how to say my name and everything. Now, as I've done a lot of like things like this, and it's like, how do you get a hold of me? It does make it nice that like you can search my name and I'm like the only one that pops up. And even Sutika in general, there's not a ton of us, so I'm pretty easy to find. Now the opposite, if I ever do something bad, I'm also easy to find too, probably. Right. So got to stay on my good behavior. Yeah. And Phil Collins wrote that song, Sutika.
So I thought I loved you, and now I love you like 10x because that is my line. So normally when I do a podcast, a lot of times the host beforehand will say like, "Hey, how do I say your last name?" And I always tell them like Sutika, like the Phil Collins song, like Sutika. Yeah, because my dad growing up used to lie to us boys. There's 3 boys, and used to tell us that he knew him, and he wrote that song about us.
Oh, that's so good.
It wasn't until later that I realized it was a different spelling, and he really wasn't saying Sutika because
studio, isn't it? Studio. Oh,
it's like studio or thing. And so the amount of people I legitly told that my dad knew him and he wrote that song about us. The funny thing is, no one ever called me out because I don't think anybody actually really knew.
Oh, you told everybody too because your dad.
I started telling people because, why would my dad lie to me? Like, my dad, right? No. Yeah, so I would tell people, and it's amazing. So even when I tell people now for like the podcast, how many people are like, "Oh my God, that's crazy!" So the song's about your name. I'm like, no, like I'm just trying to help you with like the where like people will put in parentheses like how to pronounce it. I'm like, I just it's a good way, but I think it's the age-old thing. If you say something with conviction and a straight face, 9 out of 10 people will believe you, or they won't call you out on it. It's kind of one of those.
That's so good. We almost got through the whole interview without that golden nugget right there.
So good.
I know.
I guess that's it.
That's it. Cool,
So
man.
go to obieinsurance.com. Hopefully, Envy will throw that link in the notes down below. Or if you're listening, then you didn't see me point. So good for you. Enjoy the rest of your drive. Go to the next episode. Don't listen to Rogan.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Have a great one.
Bye.